Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you and your loved ones are doing great. I hope that all is pleasant for you. And most importantly, my friends, I hope that you are in good health. Once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. On this channel, my friends, we get to talk about those things that people know, that people have thought about, but don't often have the time to discuss. These, my friends, are the things we discuss here on the Common Sense channel. So, once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. Today, I want to talk about immigration. And with all of the things that are happening, all of the events, all of the storm that are blowing in our world today, especially in the United States, most people or many people just only look at what's happening now. They are not paying attention because the media runs this whole thing, and they're just putting out those messages out there. Some of them are subliminal messages. Some of them are straight to the point. Some of them are based on all emotions. Some of them are based on deception. Some of them are based on lies. So if you're looking from the outside, you are not able to filter out the truth. And as most of you know about this channel, or have been following my videos and following what I do here, you know I often talk about history, because everything that is happening on this under the sun, or everything that's happening now in this country and across the globe, has a beginning, and the beginning is the Genesis. So to understand American immigration system is to go back into history. And that's what we're going to do here. And this is for all those people that are history lovers out there in the world, that understand, in order to understand the present, you must know the past. And the past give you clue into the present. So let's look at history from American immigration system. The year was 1790. It's the first time in American history. And they said those people who do not learn from the history will repeat them. You understand? So it's always good to look at history to understand all of the happenings in the now, in the present, and across this country, and maybe, perhaps across the globe too. You can use whatever is happening here in this country to understand what is happening across the globe. If you love history, don't ever forget your history. So the year was 1790. It's the first time in American history when immigration, this was after the war for independence against Great Britain, when America was finally, when America has declared to the whole world that they were independent country, that this country was independent, no longer under the yoke of colonialism, and that they were free. So it was that time, 1790, that this country started to talk about immigration. And in that year, my friend, the first law that was passed was the Free White Person Act or law. And that was only relegated to people who are free white, primarily people from Ireland and Germany, were allowed to come to this country. Has nothing to do with racism. It's just how their system was set up. Because imagine most of the people, the early people that had migrated to this country, came under the Puritan ship, whatever that colonized those first 13 colonies. These were all European citizens that had fled Europe to this country for some one or two reasons. One of them were religious persecution. So we can say that because it's historically factual. So, but there are other reasons why people came here that later on followed to establish this colony that became the great United States. So the year was 1790 was the first time, and it was just specifically for Western Europeans or white people. So, and because of that law, the Free White Persons Act, that in those few years leading to the event that I will talk about, that I think is what's setting the stage for what America is today. From the 1790 to the year 1882, which we'll get there, during that span of time, there are more immigrants of German descent and Irish descent that came to this country because it was only designated for them. Only these people were allowed to come to America as immigrants or refugees, whatever the status was. But the immigration system was open to them. So they were allowed to come and settle here. And the histories can be traced back to the early people that came into this country from Europe. So you get the point. So when these people came in and settled, imagine this was a vast land, and it wasn't as expanded as it is today. And it was just a bunch of wilderness, places where maybe today, if you were living then, you will feel like it's not inhabitable, that people can live there. But those people, when they came, they made that place livable. They're able to farm, they were able to cultivate the land and make it livable. Don't forget, there are still black people in this country, and there are Native American in this country too. But the black people in this country were descendant of Africans from the slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade, and all the slave situation across the globe. They were here, but they were not here as human beings. And that's the truth. It's always good to go back into American history, although they don't want to talk about it, which is fair enough, because it's ugly, because it's not good. But I've always argued on my channel that it's also good to talk about the history of black people in this country, the history of Native American in this country. It's always good. You cannot run away from your history. Your history is what defines you. So it's always good to talk about it. I think more teachers, most schools, the educational system needs to be reformed to talk about these things. Why do you want to talk about it? Because it's healing. So this is a great segue for me to go into something that history has. The good thing is in the book, it's in most history books in this country, and it's called the Chinese Exclusion Act. The Chinese Exclusion Act is a terrible time for Chinese. It was dehumanizing. It was not nice to the Chinese. And the Chinese were, in my view, victim too, because they did not ask to come to America. They were brought here to help build the railroad. So we're talking about John Carnegie, these people, these industrialists that were expanding the country. What's the other? Rockefeller. These were industrialists, and they were trying to connect America from New York to the rest of the country, because New York is the financial hub of this country, if you don't know. That's why it's New York. You understand? It's the brainchild of this country, so to say. New York has always been the financial hub. And although we look at Las Vegas today, we look at California, but without New York, none of these places will exist. And that's true. You understand? New York is the brainchild of the financial hub of this country. So these people, Rockefeller, John Rockefeller, the Carnegies, they brought the Chinese over here. The Chinese were good at building railroad, and they came over here to help. This is the unique aspect of the United States. Most of you don't know. America goes around the world and find brains. You understand? This is not new. America will find brains and bring them here, the best of the best, and make America great. And that's what America is. America immigration process has always been that way. Go out into the world, bringing brains, quality people, smart people, intelligent people to help build this country. It's always been that way. But the Chinese, when the Chinese came, they was to help the same thing because they had the skills that America needed. Remember, you were talking about wilderness. You're talking about places where it's hard to even navigate or even travel. But these Chinese were able to build a transportation system to allow the railroad. Remember, the first mode of transportation in this country, as far as distant transportation is concerned, was, this is way before automobile now, was the train, the railroad. So you could use the railroad and go distance. You understand? But when the Chinese came, they started multiplying, started having many children. And the more children you have, that adds to the population. You understand? Anywhere a human being goes, they are innately designed to have children, to populate. Again, that's what religion says, right? That you're designed. I don't think you need religion permission or acknowledgement to populate the world. I think it's just naturally, it's just a natural thing that we do as human beings. We have sex and we have children. You understand? Children are the bad product of having sexual intercourse. You understand? So that's what happened. Now, when all of these Chinese people, the population started to grow, they started doing well, and then there's something happened again. You understand? So they start to malign them, they start to discriminate against them, they start to look at them different. You understand? So that's the first time in American history where there was a federal law, a national law, to regulate immigration. You understand? Ask anyone, or you can do the research, because this is all about educational purposes. So I'm not just saying something that's not factual. I'm not saying something that's not in the book. It's there. So you can look at it, because some people, when you talk about immigration, they just want to shut you up. They don't want you to talk about it because they just want to keep it under the loop. But you have to talk about it because that's the genesis. So anyone wants to understand immigration in this country, look at the Chinese and all of the things that are happening with ICE, with people going around arresting people randomly on the street based on profiling, because most of the arrests can be based on that, Someone looking at it and just say, you may be here illegally, whether you're a citizen or not, So, but to understand these things to look at, if you can do, I don't have enough time to go over all of the things that happened during the Chinese Exclusion Act, but there are more stuff that happens during that time to the Chinese. The Chinese couldn't even leave this country to go back to China. They were thinking if they leave, they won't come back. And these people were born here. You understand? I don't know at that time, but I think they were given some form of certificate to show that, especially those that were born here. But those that came before, maybe the first generation, maybe they didn't have that kind of documentation. But America is unique, so I think they must have had something to show that they're living here, they're resident of this country, and maybe citizen of this country. But remember, citizenship was only relegated to free white person. Free white person. This was the law in 1790, only for them. So maybe we can say those people, the Chinese had to really walk the way into getting some certificate to show. So they couldn't travel. They could not leave this country. And they were constantly in fear of their life, and stuff. So all of the things that you were saying, there's a reason why I brought this up. Maybe, perhaps, we could be experiencing the Chinese Exclusion Act all over again. But why am I saying this? I'm not saying this to say that what's happening now with Donald Trump is new, or what Donald Trump is doing is new. What Donald Trump is doing, you can trace it back to history. And let me tell you, most people think Donald Trump is stupid. But Donald Trump, I think he's a historian too. He go back into this thing and say, what did we do? And then he asks his advisors and say, what happened during this time, during the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act? What was happening? Which president in history took action? Because you had 1952. Then you have, I think, 1943 too. There's also the same thing. So this is all historical. Except now, the people that are talking out there, like the traditional media, they are just genning up all of these things. All of the events that's happening in this country on emotional aspect and not looking at the facts, the historical facts. And these individuals, in my view, I've often had issues with them because they don't tell the truth. They're afraid of American history. Watch them talk about American history if you're really paying attention. Ever since I've been in this country, that's one aspect of this country I always watch. And sometimes when I listen to them talk about immigration issue, it's not new. Since I've been here, I've seen it. Except that with Donald Trump it's different. And it doesn't mean that George Bush didn't do it. It doesn't mean that Joe Obama didn't do it, did not take action, executive action on immigration. According to most people, especially historians, they say Obama was terrible when it came to immigration policies. He, according to them, deported more immigrants than imaginable. But the media, again, never talk about it. They were quiet. They refused to put them out there. And imagine had social media like it is today, say Candace Owens had been around during Obama time like she is now, she would have been all over it. But social media was not as strong as it is today or proliferating as it is today. It was just starting from the beginning stage of maturity. So that's how Obama got away with most of the action he took against people living in this country illegally. This topic for me is very, very important because I remember when I was in college, I wrote at that time to Lindsey Graham and the late John McClain, may his soul rest in peace, wherever he's at. I remember writing to these people when I was in college and trying to talk about immigration. Because for me, immigration is very important. I remember in the state that I live, and one of my biggest things was human trafficking, the effect of human trafficking on the society and the victims. And I remember writing to these two people today. Lindsey Graham wouldn't even talk about immigration. He's busy on the other side, journeying up, bam, bam, bam. War. You understand? But Lindsey Graham was working with John McClain. I think maybe it was a stunt when he was running for presidency against Mr. Obama. Maybe, typical politicians. But I remember that time writing to them. And I have the letter up to this day that I wrote to them, asking them to look into immigration. And they did nothing. So everything that Donald Trump is doing is culmination from all of the presidents before him, and partly historical. It's historical. You wouldn't hear this on the media because some of these people are ashamed of their history. And every now and then, since they don't want to talk about it, keep coming back because history is real. History is life. This is part of you. You cannot run away from your history. It's like running away from yourself. No one can run. Bob Marley say, but you can't run away from yourself. You can run away from yourself. You can never run away from yourself. You're going to be you, and you is going to be you. You see? So always talk about history. So John McCain and Lindsey Graham, they let down this country. When John McCain did not win the election against Obama, he stopped talking about immigration. When Obama came, he did what he had to do. And then some more. Because I think whatever Obama did not do, when, what's his name, Joe Biden came. Joe Biden has always been against immigration, if you don't know. If you look at his history back, you will see he's been a stern opponent against immigration. But he surprised the world, especially America. When he became a president, he opened up that whole thing. Because I've traveled to many countries in the world. Yeah, because for those of you that watched my video, you know my country had a civil war. And nothing makes you move out of your country. Nothing makes you leave your country and just go from one place to another than a war. That's why I'm against war. Because I know it makes you learn. It makes you understand yourself. It makes you know that you may go to some place and you're not welcome there. What do? You migrate, you move. It teaches you a lot. Anyone that's been through war, that had to leave the country and go into another country, it's not easy for you to just start over. You're not used to the setting. There's just so much things. Cultural shock, just within Africa alone. It should be a place where you can just move from one country to another without a problem. Without any problem, without someone telling you, go back to your country, within Africa now. So imagine that. If we had to go through it, some of the countries we went to, man, they were so hostile to us. I'm not going to call their names here because I don't want people to not go to their country. But some of them were so hostile. Some of them even put us in prison. I was put in jail in a country just because we moved from a war situation. They thought we're one of the rebels. We're just fleeing the country because of the instability. And we're locked up. We had to be free. So immigration is not just the reality of American immigration in this country. It's not just relegated to America. It's everywhere. You wouldn't know if you don't travel. But if you leave this country and go to any country you see, some countries, before you re-enter, they must know how long you're going to be there, where you're going to be staying, and the activities that you're going to be engaging. And when that time comes, the time that you give them on that application or that form, when that day arrives, or before that day, you must start to find a way to leave. So I'm going to go back to Joe Biden, because all of the presidents that preceded, that previous president before Donald Trump, they left a legacy. And the legacy is what he has to deal with. Am I surprised on what Donald Trump is doing? No, I'm not surprised. Why? Because when Donald Trump was running his campaign across this country, we saw where he went and what he was saying. Everyone saw it. Some people were thinking it was racist. Some people were thinking it was bigotry. It was this usual people now talking. But the ordinary people on the ground that was feeling the pinch, that was feeling the heat from mass migration or illegal immigration, as they call it, these people were crying on the background. They were saying what's happening to this country. Some of them had legitimate reason. Some of them don't have. Some of them were just being, you know what I mean now. Just like the Chinese Exclusion Act era or time. So there's just bunch of people with different views in this country. But there are people with legitimate views, especially those people that had to work and compete with illegal immigration or mass immigration. You know, it's not fun. So I'm going to say, because on my channel, I say things for what they are. You know, I'm not beholden to anyone, so I just say things for what they are. You understand? So what Donald Trump is doing, everyone in this country, except those who were sleeping or those who were living in a different world, you know, a world where you were locked away from reality. So you can't see reality because you cannot see reality. Anything happening outside of your confound is not necessary or necessity to you. But if you were living in this country, you knew exactly what. So what really happened for those who were living in that environment, not living in reality, was the American people. It could be everyday American, ordinary American, people who were feeling the heat, people who had their loved ones taken away from them, people who were struggling, had to compete with mass immigration because of a policy, again, of Joe Biden. Because I'm not going to say the American people, because not all of them were okay with what was happening as far as immigration is concerned. But again, history always comes back to repeat itself. You understand? So when all of these people, just like they allowed the Chinese to come in to build this country, the railroad, to help with the construction of the railroad, because sometimes you have to be specific when you say these things. You understand? Because America is a melting pot. It is. And it's a melting pot of people from all over the world. And I think this is heaven. You know, the definition of heaven, because the heaven is a place where people from all parts of the world, white, black, yellow, brown, red, green, whatever your color is, in one place, congregating in one place. Only in this country you're going to see that. There's nowhere in the world where you see people from all walks of life, all race, all ethnicity in one location. Only heaven has that kind of thing. You know, whether it's heaven can be good to you, heaven can be bad to you, that's your perspective. But yeah, let's say for the sake of my video, heaven, all right? So it's the same, just as how the government allowed, the American government allowed the Chinese to come to this country to help them build. It's the same thing that happened during Joe Biden's administration. Let me tell you, the government of this country is powerful. The government of this country flows on policies. Whatever Joe Biden was campaigning about during that election, it's what he did. And more. You understand? So that's why election is very crucial now. You know, if you can vote, vote your mind. Vote the right person. Educate yourself, especially on the policies of these people. If you don't understand their policies, right? Ask someone that understands them. Educate your mind. There are a lot of social medias on outlet online, YouTube, Facebook, that are very informative, educational. You can subscribe to one of those and educate, especially during election time. We're going to be having the midterm this year. This is the time you want to educate yourself. You want to start now. Whether you're voting for the Democrat or the Republican, whatever your affiliation, your political affiliation is, educate yourself. Only you can do that for yourself. In my view, a true citizen of any country, a true citizen, I'm going to say it again, of any country is one who is well informed of that country. You got to know how your government runs. You got to know the history of the country. Us immigrants, if most of you don't know, in order for you to be American citizen of this country, I don't know, maybe Donald Trump is going to change it, but I know it's been changed over and over. But you have to study 100 questions. And those 100 questions, right? They're comprising of snippet. I'm going to say snippet of American history, not all of American history. Because when I was in high school in this country, that's one issue I had with American history. I just felt like I felt like it wasn't the whole story. Yeah. And I remember watching the movie Color Purple, and I remember asking myself, did this really happen? Is it fictional or is it real? And then I went and looked at that, and then it just took me from another story to another story, and then it took me to the right story. So that's how and Gangs of New York too. I wanted to know, is it real? Were they really feuding between the Irish and the Jewish and the German, the Italian? I wanted to know. So American history is not everything they put in the book. There are those that are left out, just like the Bible too. Not everything, not all of the story that is supposed to be in that book is there. So you have to do your own digging to understand. So yeah, whatever Joe Biden must have done, I like to go back to Joe Biden, because before Joe Biden, Obama was not a fan of immigrants anyway. He understand the economics of having more people illegally living in the country and what it does to the workforce. He understood that. But he was the nice guy, the nice faced guy, the guy that when he talked, he was smooth, like, woo, this guy did nothing for his people. And that's true. Did nothing for African American or Black American, as they want to say. Did nothing for them, and that's true. Promised a lot of promises, nothing. You understand? A lot of hope, hope, hope we can depend on. You know how he talks. But again, this is America. Me personally, I don't expect no politician to do nothing for me. I don't depend on anyone. I do my own thing. All I want, to be honest with you, I don't even want government to be in my business. Yeah, I just want government to be way over there. Just do the thing that you're supposed to do, like what Mr. Trump is doing right now. But immigration in this country is not new. And if most of you remember Ronald Reagan, right? Ronald Reagan was, again, I'm going to say a Republican. We don't know why he gave amnesty to all those immigrants that were living in his country. But I think he was fed up with open border. They don't talk about open border because you all know, most of you that live in this country, you know America is really powerful. America is very powerful. America is so powerful that if they want to protect that border, they can protect that border in a way that nobody can even come in. No drugs. Whatever they say come into this country, drugs, as Mr. Trump is alluding and saying drugs, drugs. And this country is so powerful that it can protect that border in a way not even air can slip through. But it's an open border for a reason. And those people that came into this country, it's just like, let me give you an analogy. Say you're living next door to someone. Every day they're eating chicken, turkey, everything is hunky-dory for them. They're doing okay, life is pleasant for them. They're driving a nice car in this side of your house now. But you can't get there. You try to get there, but you have to go through a process. You got to know someone from within to go in. And it's just hard for you to come in. You understand? You want to go because you want to be part of that party. You want to enjoy that party. You want to enjoy whatever it is that they're enjoying over there. Sometimes you try to knock down the door, you risk your life, and yet you get caught, you get sent back. You can't get in. And then one day, someone come in and say, hey, I know you've been trying all these years to come in. You've been risking your life. Now you don't need to do that. Walk in, welcome to heaven, my beautiful child. You're free now. Come in. You understand? That's exactly what happened during Joe Biden's administration. It's an open border. So all those people that have been trying to come in, all those years, trying to get the they don't even know American dream is not really a real stuff. It's in your mind. The American dream is a state of mind, right? Because you can come to this country and you can be here for 10, 20, 30 years. If you don't use your mind, if your mind isn't right, you're still going to be where you are, just like when you first came in. And you're going to be the same. So it's a state of mind, how you apply yourself. That's what makes this country. It's not easy here. If you don't know, for those of you who were sitting behind that in your house on the other side and listening to all the noises going on here, and you think it was hunky-dory over here, it was nice. It's not easy, but part of the American dream, again, is a state of mind. You can make it. The reason why I think the American dream is a state of mind, because if you don't control that mind, right, you can go mad easily. You can be depressed. You can be hopeless. You can be stressed out. And eventually, you can exit this world early. You can get gray hair unnecessarily. You can be like 30 years old, your hair is all white because of all the stress. Only the strongest people can make it in this country. Just like the first people that arrived, it's not including the Native American now. The first immigrants that arrived here, everything they had to go through to make it in this country, it's the same thing you, my friend, would have to go through to make it. That's the state of mind that I talk about all the time. Their mind was in the right place. They look at the environment, they see this is nothing. Why can I make nothing out of something? It's the same mindset you can have. You must have, not you can. You must have when you come to this country to make it your own dream. That's the American dream. It's not the government is not gonna make it for you. But again, most people want the government into their life. But if you don't want the government into your life, say there's no oversight, nothing. You're just free to do your thing, how you want to do it, the way, just like when they give the people free land into the Midwest, the Midwest. Say, hey, go down there. If you can cultivate the land, you can turn it to something, it's yours. That's the American dream. You come in, say, hey, welcome to America. Whatever you make of it is yours. That's the American dream. Now you have to use this, your mind, to make it yours. You understand? So it's always been that way. So when you come here, this is how you need to think. So back to Joe Biden. Because immigration is not new. It's not new under Obama. It's not new under Biden. It's not even new under George Bush Jr. It wasn't even new under George Bush Sr. It wasn't even new under Bill Clinton. It's always been there, dating way back to the 1790 or before that, because the first people that came into this country are immigrants. So we can say from the onset of this country, it's been about immigration. That's why it's called a melting pot. So it wasn't new on any of these people. But what the American people start to see, the ones that were paying attention, was this huge mass migration into this country under Mr. Biden's administration. And that's where the problem is. And let me tell you, history always been the eye-opener. That's why I love history, because like if you can pay attention, history is fun. Let me tell you, all of the politicians that runs in this country, they always create event, like all of the things Donald Trump is doing now with ICE, the kind of languages he's using against people from different countries, talking about who they are and how they smell and all that stuff. Guess who's going to benefit from that? It's not the immigrant. The immigrants are already insulted. They're treated in the worst way possible, worst way possible. I like to say sometimes your tongue get jammed up, but the worst way possible, the immigrants, they don't have nowhere to fight back. Who's going to fight for them? Is it the Democrat Party, the Libertarian Party, the Independent Party? Who's going to fight for them? No one. They're just victim of the circumstances by someone named Joe Biden that opened up that border. Now, the issue I have with Joe Biden, he's a nice man. It's good to be nice. I mean, I love people who do nice things. But you were setting up these people. At that time, Joe Biden came to power. If you were not living in this country, some people were living in this country, but they were sleeping. They were not woke. Joe Biden could have helped these people if he wanted to. This is how I think. That's my view. If he wanted to help them, he could have helped them. Why? Because Joe Biden came to power with both houses. The media don't want to talk about this. Traditional media, not social media. Because social media, they're people, not all of them on there are righteous people. But there are those on there that stand on principle, that stand on morality, that stand on truth, and they speak out. You understand? He had both houses. If you're going to have an open border policies, then you have to find a way to protect those people. Notwithstanding, we had the kids that were in this country, the undocumented children that was in this country. Their status, I don't even know where it's at today, because thank God Mr. Trump doesn't talk much about them, because those children, they have no fault of their own. You understand? Those ones, my heart goes with them, including the ones that Joe Biden behaved that way to them, because he could have helped them. Somehow give them legal status, somehow. See, all this thing, right? Let me tell you, you see, Congress is the key. Broken border policies in this country, the only bodies that can fix this are Congress. If Congress want to legislate, if they really want to do their job, that problem can be solved like tomorrow. Let me tell you, if Congress want to fix this, that's why some of you, I see you on there, some people get roughed off by beat up, hurt, murdered by ICE. And then who do you look up to? Donald Trump. Let me tell you what you need to do, because some people don't understand how the government runs. Most people, most Americans, I don't want to say most, some Americans don't understand how the system runs. But the people that's supposed to address this issue, you know who? It's Congress. Congress has been the right to regulate and legislate immigration, border security. As far as immigration is concerned, border security as far as immigration is concerned, it's Congress. Congress can fix that problem like tomorrow if they want to. But they don't want to. That's why I tell you, America is so great that if they want to solve the issue of immigration, they can do that. You understand? All of that stuff Donald Trump is doing, it's just for election. He's just flexing on the victims. These people are victims. I'll say it again. They are victim of the circumstances. Joe Biden used them. Donald Trump is using them. Future politicians, some of them you don't even know. You're going to see them coming out of the shadows of all of this. And some of them are going to take a tough stand on these people, which is the same thing that happens during the Chinese Exclusion Act on the Chinese people who were victims too. I mean, I'm just tying what's happening now to what happened to the Chinese. You can go check it for yourself if you want to know. And you'll see the same thing happening to these people over here, whether they're from Africa, I like to say Africa, or China, Japan, whatever the immigration status is, wherever they're from, it's the same thing. So the reason why you hear Chinese Exclusion Act is because there are more Chinese in America. I don't know if it were in the millions, but it was in the thousands of them across this country. There was too many of them that the federal government at that time had to pass an act excluding them. You understand? Excluding them from the American dream or the American state of mind. You understand? So it's the same thing. You just need to look at, if you want to know this, go again, I'm going to say it again. Just look at the history of the Chinese Exclusion Act, what happened. And then you look at what's happening now. You see so much similarity, except this time, it's not just the Chinese, it's everyone. It's everyone, including Americans too. Because when these ICE people who are operating on executive order, when they should be operating on legislative act or law, but the legislative body of this country, or bodies of this country, that would be the legislature house coming up with a legislation on immigration and border security, and then pushing that over to the Senate, and then eventually to the president, and then that become a law. They don't want to do it. It's always been that way. Remember, I talked to you about, in the beginning of this video, talked to you about Lindsey Graham and John McCain. That's what they're trying to do. They were partnering with coming up with a legislation on immigration and border security, and that didn't happen. So when all of the things you're seeing as ordinary Americans, hardworking Americans, Americans that does the right thing, like myself, did the right thing. All of these things you're seeing happening, right? Donald Trump can be blamed based on his rhetoric and based on some of the words he's using, but he's just doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing that those other people did. But except this time, he's doing it with our Congress. So I say, Congress, you need to do your job. You can fix this so people are not treated the way they're treated by ICE. What are you waiting for? You waiting to see the country descend into chaos? Are you waiting to see people going into their homes and taking out their guns and fighting against ICE before you do something? Do something now before that stuff escalates. Because that lady that was murdered in that car, that was not cool. We don't know details of the story yet, what happened. We're just looking at what social media can be very deceptive. So you need to know that, most of you. At least now they're preying on your emotion, because some of these people that put these things out, they're preying on your emotion. So you need to know the detail. And again, you see, that's why the system, know how the system works. You understand? So they're preying on your emotion, but until the details comes out, then you know. But we don't want any of stuff like that to happen again. Congress, please, that's both for you. The legislative house and the Senate, both of you need to legislate this thing so that this man is not using executive order to protect the country. Immigration should be fixed long time ago. And all of those people that some of you are using them, you're going to see them running. You see during the campaign, if the campaign season has already started, but some of them are not talking yet. They're waiting maybe till somewhere around June, July for them to come up, but they're busy doing their thing underground. But yeah, these people, I think it's time the American people hold them accountable. I mean, your representatives, because a representative government that we have, you send somebody to represent you to Congress, and sometimes they don't do what they need to do. So that's who all the blame needs to be leveled on, the Congress people. They are just sitting by doing nothing and they're getting paid. Imagine if you're an employer and you hire someone to work for you and you give them the job to do, give them the job description, and you say, these right here are your job description, and they're supposed to work off whatever you give them, and they're not doing that job. What do? Do you keep them on the payroll if you're the one that employed them? Do you keep them on the payroll, or do you discuss with them? And that's why you have town hall. Meet your legislature, your congressmen, both senators and House of Representatives. Meet them. Say you want to see action done. That's what real citizen does. That's what natural citizen does. Citizen is well informed. Instead of taking it on people who has nothing to do with it, they're just trying to take advantage of the opportunity that was given to them. You understand? So American reality, you wouldn't know. It's just like a club. When you're outside of the club, you wouldn't know what's happening in there until you go in. And when you go in the club and then you see, then now you have to decide what you want to do. That's what America is, like a club. You're coming. So you legislatures need to do your job. I know they're not telling you to do your job because these people, they just want you to keep milking the system, getting paid for nothing, doing nothing. How many legislation have you passed since the start of this year? That's for both Democrat and Republican. What did you change? Did you fix health care? Like you said, Donald Trump. I think the border is a little bit okay, but there's still stuff coming in. According to Donald Trump, he said things are still coming in. So that problem is not fixed. Is employment okay? Are people fully employed or duly employed? Or people, how is the economy? See, all of these things are supposed to be done by the Congress. These same congressmen and women that you appointed during the rise of Donald Trump, the Trump. So most of you, if you're surprised what he's doing, it's not new. As far as I know, it's not new. The man was telling you. The man told the whole country what he was going to do. Told the whole world what he was going to do. So why are you surprised? Why are you wilding now? But the people that you need to look at, I think he's doing it intentionally too. So you wouldn't pay attention to your congressmen and congresswomen, because these people are the ones that's supposed to fix this thing. Yeah, they're supposed to fix this problem, and they're not doing their job. Look at the economy. Look at healthcare system. My health insurance just went up. Because I pay for it. I don't get it free. Because nowadays you can't even depend on government assistance or government health care. They're trying to dissuade people from even getting it. So your best bet is to go to the government, the healthcare, the private sector, to get healthcare insurance, or maybe through your job. You understand? So is that problem fixed? You know, although I look at Trump, is still new. Let's see what's happening. But that's what should be happening right now. I don't know what Trump's strategy is to get all those people out. Some of the people now, they are harassing American citizens. That situation needs to be fixed, Congress. Because I think it's humiliating when someone can be pulled over for because I sees them as legal, or just ask them random question. I don't think that should be happening in America, man. Yeah, we're civil, we're better than that. So yeah, there's just so much things that needs to be done by Congress. Congress, you need to fix this. It's always been from 1790 to 1882 to I think 1952 or 1943. All of the process that has to do with immigration, it's always been through Congress. This is your time to fix this problem. You. And Donald Trump, I know what you're doing. You're running for election. You got to stick to all that stuff Donald Trump is doing. It's just campaign promises. You get it? It's just campaign promises is what he's doing. If you don't get it by now, just go back and watch some of the videos on Trump being Trump during the campaign. You understand? So, like, anyone from outside, you're seeing what's happening in this country. If you're watching YouTube videos, you're not getting a full picture of what's happening or the genesis of what Trump is doing. Trump told the American people, and millions of people went and voted for him. I mean, he cleaned the floor as far as votes is concerned, or from all demographic. Not lying, it's true. Even people that never voted in their life voted for Mr. Trump. And some of them are disappointed. That would be me too. I'm not. I'm disappointed at Trump. You understand? But I can understand what he's doing. And the reason is because I love history. And when you know history, my friend, I'm not a historian. I'm not I don't have a degree in history. But I've always been a lover of history. Because I know, like, in order for you to know who you are, you need to appreciate your history. No civilization become powerful without knowing their history. Yeah, no one told you that. Like, your history is what makes you. It's like your ancestors. If there were no ancestors, then there were no history. But because there were ancestors, that's why you have history. So if you don't remember your history, if you don't pay attention to your history, if you don't learn your history, if you don't show reverence to your history, if you're ashamed of your history, that means you are ashamed of your ancestors. That means you're ashamed of your past. You're ashamed of who you are. So that's why you always must show special love and understanding and respect and honor to your history, because your history is your ancestors, and your ancestors is your history. Whatever they must have done is what triggered down to our world today. All of the policies, all of the actions they've done, all of the things they've done in their time is what you're seeing today. So knowing history, my friend, is the way. So everything Mr. Trump is doing as far as immigration is concerned, I just think, in my view, I say it again, those people are victim. They're always going to be victim in my mind. Nothing is going to change that. Because we've seen that in history, how people can be used and then abused. Because none of those people asked Joe Biden to open that border. We don't even know how long they've been trying. You know how many people die in the desert, in the hot New Mexico or wherever the border states are, trying to come into this country? You know how many rape victims? You know how many human people that were trafficked that die or are missing that you will never know or never find, you never know their name? You know how many loved ones in places like South America that are still looking for their loved ones. So ever since they left them and said bye to them, that they're coming to America and never show up again. Never heard from them again, whether they made it or died. Who knows? And then all of a sudden, the border is open, and then they say you can come in. You understand? So, that's the genesis, my friend, of all of these things that has to do with immigration. There are more to it, but I just give you a connection, a link, that all the things you're seeing today, they are not new. Nothing is new under the sun. Whatever it is that you see now, they've happened before. You understand? You can piggyback to the Italian American. You can piggyback to the Jewish American. You can piggyback to the German American, the Irish American. When they came, they had their own shares of problem in this country too. You know, there was time in this country they couldn't even sell land to Jewish Americans. Yeah, they catch hell here too. I mean, Jewish American is who I'm talking about. They couldn't even buy land. They couldn't even find jobs. Yes, in this country. During World War II, they don't talk about this. There's a whole boat loaded with immigrants fleeing Nazi Germany. Before the Holocaust was even mentioned, they arrived here, I think in California, not in California, in Florida, somewhere in Florida. They're trying to dock. They were fleeing prosecution, or they were trying to seek asylum in this country, and they were turned away. They went to Canada. They were turned away. And guess what? They had to go back to Europe. Facts. You can check on that too. So America history is deep, you know. But in spite of all of this, the history of this country, it keeps fixing itself. That's why I say America is a project. It keeps fixing itself to be better, to be good, to be the city on the hill, you know, and everyone is looking at. It's what America keeps doing over and over, fixing itself to be better. You know, Donald Trump is here today. He's doing everything he's doing, changing the new order, saying this is how the world is going to look like going forward. But he's on a limited budget. You understand? His time is going to come. It's now. It's going to come, and then it's going to pass. And another administration is going to come in. You know, and that's the reason why I think it's time Americans start to look at a third party. Yeah, start to give chance to a new idea. A third party would be a new way forward. You know, if you can come up with a new, just like you're in a relationship and things are not working for you, what do? You're discussing with the person and they're paying you no attention, and then all of a sudden you say, you know what, it's time that I look at someone else. Maybe that's gonna, you know, get you to pay attention to me. You know, women, men, both of them do that all the time. You know, nobody wanna be in a relationship where you ignore all the time, like your needs are not met. You're being sidelined, you're being maligned, and you're just seeing your life, your health condition deteriorating. You're seeing everything is not going good. You're getting sicker. And then along the line, someone beautiful show up in your life and start to rejuvenate your life back. What would you do? You move to that person. It's a natural thing. So I think it's time Americans, that, I mean, I'm talking about those that love this country now, those who are true Americans, that want to see the betterment of this country. Because at the end of the day, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years from now, for those who are 40 or 50 or 60 years old, they're not going to be here. You're not going to die, including me. I may not even be here 50, 60 years from now. But I don't want to live in America where my children will come here and it's a different place. You see? So you always think about your children. And when you go to vote, whatever decision you're making, whatever affiliation you are, choose the right people. It's hard to know. Politicians are liars. But choose the right person. Choose the person that would represent your interests. Just like a partner you're choosing, choose the right partner for you that will represent your interests, that will care about you, that will love you, that want to do everything that you, not everything that you need, but some of the most essentials, you see. So this is a long, complex topic. There's just so much layers to it, but I don't want to make my video too long, and because I want people to be able to listen to it, and I'll be like, hey, where is this going? So I'm just gonna say what I often say. The greatest thing that could ever happen to anyone, my friends, it's not the day you were born, not the day you had your first child, that you graduated from high school, college, that you became whatever it is that you're working on in your life right now. The greatest thing, my friends, that could ever happen to you is the day you discover yourself. Because from that day on, my friends, you'll start paying attention to history. You'll start paying attention to your history. You understand? And you start to learn them. And you start to see that most of the things that are happening in your world today, especially in this country, they are not new. They've happened before, but it's just that this time it's taken at a different level. And you won't be surprised when you see a politician saying some of the things that they say or doing some of the things that they do. You won't be surprised. And you would educate your mind. And you'll be the best citizen that you can ever be for the future of your children. Because at the end of the day, it's all about your children. It's not about you for those who have children. For those who don't have children, but love this country, is about the country. Because only one country you have. I know this because I've seen it in my life. Only one country you have. Although all of us are we're universal citizens, we're citizens of the world. But at the end of the day, we belong to a place. And that place is our country. Our countries. So again, I want to thank everyone that watched my videos. I want to thank all those people that continue to be subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you. And even those who recently joined my platform, I appreciate you. Educate yourself. Learn. Don't be fooled. Don't be misled. Don't allow emotions to make you make the wrong decision. Think and ask meaningful questions. Always think. Because those people who want to control your mind, they're not even in your home. They are outside, but they know what to do to control you from the outside. Don't allow that. You're smarter. You're better than that. So thank you again. And I hope once again, I hope that you are in good health. And I hope that all is pleasant for you. Thank you and have a great day.